How are you all doing, everyone, and welcome back to the Rovers Report. Today I'll be talking about the 5 key points that I think could decide this weekend's fixture between Bristol Rovers and Carlisle United. It's another massive game for the Gas and looks to be a tricky one, judging on Carlisle's recent form. Let me know down in the comments if you agree with my opinions and how you think the game will go. Enjoy! Hello guys, just a quick disclaimer. Just as I was about to release this video, the news came out that Elliott will in fact be available for Rovers on Saturday. I do quite a big piece on this in the video, and I am going to leave it in because I still think it's interesting to think who would come in if he was to be injured or away on international duty. But yeah, typical that just as I was about to do it, the news came out. Hope you enjoy. The first point for me, and something that I think a lot of Rovers fans will be keeping a key eye on come 2 p.m, is who is going to replace Elliott. For me, I think there's 4 options, and I'll run you through them now. Option 1, Nicholson for Anderson. If Nicholson is fit, this is probably the most obvious option for me. Though they're not entirely similar players, Anderson and Nicholson both occupy that left flank really well, and Nicholson, up until Anderson came in, had that spot nailed down. Nico has great quality, and I think if he's fit, it's a no-brainer to start. 2, bring in Thomas or Saunders for Anderson. I think Barton would only really consider this option if Nicholson is also injured, because you wouldn't really put Saunders or Thomas ahead of Nicholson on current form. For me, this is probably the least likely option, as although both players can go on the left side, Barton has had a bit of a reluctance to play either of them. And Thomas especially, he's questioned his attitude. So I think in a game like this, when a lot's on the line, you're not going to take a gamble on those sort of players. I also think Barton likes the idea of having both of these off the bench late in the game to inject a bit of pace. Option 3. Bring in Leon Clark or Ryan Loft up front. I don't mind the idea of this, to be honest, and I think he'd probably go with Ryan Loft ahead of Clark, which I like because Loft has the ability to press as well as give that aerial presence against the Carlisle defence, who are fairly robust. I don't think Barton's fully convinced about Loft, so I would probably say this is unlikely, but yeah, if this happened, I wouldn't mind it. Option 4, bring in Glenn Whelan. Funnily enough for me, if Nicholson isn't fit, this seems like the most likely option. I think what Barton would probably do is push Finley onto that left position and drop Whelan back in the centre of defensive midfield. And away to Carlisle in a crucial game, I don't think that's necessarily a bad idea. It would probably just shore up the midfield a bit, and he knows with Coots, Whelan and Finley, he's got good experience he can rely on. And I think going back to the earlier point about Saunders and Thomas, as well as Loft and Clark, he likes the idea that later on in a game, if we're chasing it, we'll bring them on. For me, this is the option that I would go with, and I think probably, being pragmatic, what Barton will choose. For point number 2, we're moving from a Rovers absentee to a Carlisle absentee. The absence of Callum Guy, the Carlisle captain, who plays in centre midfield. In good news for Gasheads, Carlisle captain Callum Guy has been ruled out of Saturday's fixture, according to the Cumbrian Star. Guy has played the most minutes for the Cumbrians this year, so it's clear to see how important he is for them. And I also think, as well as his ability to play in a team that's pretty much safe and got nothing to play for, his leadership will be crucial in stamping out that lethargy. Without him, that might creep in, so that could only be a good thing for Rovers. I'll be interested to see how they play without him. 3. The form tables make for very interesting reading. A lot has been made about how these are the 2 form teams in League 2 coming into this game. And although you can't deny that, in the past 8 games, Rovers are the top of the form table, whilst Carlisle sit in 3rd, there are some interesting observations to make when it comes to home and away form. When you look at Carlisle's home form over the last 8 games, they sit in 20th, and over the last 6 games, they're 13th. When it comes to Rovers away form, over the last 8 games, they're 1st, and over the last 6, they're 3rd. So that would indicate that Rovers should be favourites going into this game, despite the fact that Carlisle have won 4 out of their last 5 games. Point number 4. Will Carlisle stick to their formation? For the majority of the season, Carlisle have played a 3/5 at the back, where they employ 3 central defenders and 2 wing-backs up and down the wings. It'll be interesting to see if Simpson and his staff have done their research on the Gas, because if they have, they'll see that when Rovers play against this sort of formation, they tend to do well. Some of the more comfortable victories Rovers have had against Crawley and Harrogate have come against this formation. If they change it up, like Newport and Oldham did, they may find more success. Point number 5. How will Rovers cope with 1 week off, having not had this for 6 weeks? It has not been since early February that Barton and his team have had a week off in between games, and it will be interesting to see how they cope with this. Usually you'd say that a week off is better than having a couple of days gaps in between, but Barton has actually cited this in his interview as to a reason as to why Rovers have been playing so well. They've been able to keep the momentum up, and having this week could actually be a disadvantage to them. My feeling is that the level of professionalism within the squad won't allow a change to occur, but it will be interesting to see what happens there. Everyone, I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, a like, a share and a subscribe would be really appreciated. I'm just trying to build my channel up at the moment, so yeah, if you could do that, I'd really appreciate it. Have a lovely weekend. Fingers crossed for a Rovers win, and up the gas.